As you already know, a very important part of the detoxifying of the Gerson therapy is the regular use of coffee enemas in the beginning of the treatment, as often as 4 and 5 a day. In order to get the body to work, you also have to get the poisons out. You have to intensively detoxify. The liver is the most important organ in the body. It is responsible for every bit of biochemistry in the body. Everything begins and ends in the liver. Therefore, it is most important to support the liver in every way.
People are still very, enemas, all right, juices sounds good, and organic food sounds good, and salt-free, okay, but enemas? How are you going to get rid of this? The interesting thing is with the juices, with the right nutrients, the cells are finally able to let go, the tissues let go of the toxic substances. And where do they go? Into the bloodstream. The bloodstream now gets filtered through the liver, and the liver is picking up all these poisons. You're going to poison the liver. You can't do that. You do more damage than you started with.
So it becomes more and more important after the start of the therapy, not only to get rid of the accumulated poisons, but to get rid of the poisons when the body breaks down the tumor tissue. Coffee enemas relieve the body of toxins and of the symptoms caused by toxins, okay? They are extremely important, essential as part of the full treatment. They help to detoxify the liver because they open the ducts so that the liver can release accumulated poisons, accumulated over years of wrong eating, of absorbing toxins, of getting them in the air and the soil and the water, in the food and in all the substances, especially also drugs. Now, I'm not talking only street drugs, medical drugs, doctor drugs are all toxic. There are no drugs that the doctor prescribes that are not eventually liver toxic and that cause new disease. It does not exist. So you are toxic no matter which way to look at it, and it's very important to get the toxins out of your system so the body can function. And Dr. Gerson did that in two ways. On the one hand, he gave a lot of fresh juices to drink, which helps to flush out and wash out the system. And he used the now famous coffee enemas. And he didn't invent them.
Where did they come from?
It was quite an interesting story. Way back in World War I, Germany was surrounded by the Allies, and they were not able to get all kinds of exotic things, including anesthesias and morphine and that sort of thing. When the soldiers were being wounded and shot to pieces, the surgeons had to sew them up. They had just a tiny bit of morphine during the surgery, but then when they woke up, there was nothing to help. But there was always coffee for the surgeons, because they often had to work around the clock, 24, 36 hours. There were so many of these soldiers being brought in emergency. There was always coffee for the surgeons. But then the nurses, the patients woke up out of surgery and out of anesthesia, and they were in terrible pain. And in many cases, the surgeon had ordered enemas anyway for these soldiers. And the nurses, out of desperation, said, hey, this coffee is doing the surgeons good. We'll put some in the buckets. Try something. And the patients reported it was doing them good. They were getting pain relief. Even in patients who come in already on morphine and heavy painkillers, in almost all cases, within 48 to 72 hours, pain is gone. And in almost all cases, they can stop taking their pain medication. And that's important because what's pain medication? What does morphine do? It stops peristalsis. It poisons the body some more. You can't heal with morphine. It's so extremely important. And yet, always remember, coffee enemas do not cure anything by themselves. I've been accused of saying that. I do not. Okay? That would be quite foolish. I always have to re-stress that the Gerson therapy works as a total approach to the entire biochemical system that's the human body. The immune system, the enzyme system, the hormone system, the mineral balances, every part of the body needs to be put back into balance and into function. And the coffee enemas are essential to removing toxins so that one can do that. but they are not in themselves a cure. Okay?
There are two types of poisons that are broken down in the liver: water-soluble and fat-soluble. These toxins pass through the liver and are broken up. Water-soluble toxins passes out of the liver and are eventually passed out through the kidneys in the form of urine. Fat-soluble toxins are dissolved with the bile produced by the liver. The toxic bile is stored in the gallbladder before emptying into the small intestine to be passed out with the feces. The tiny bile duct has a diameter of only 4 millimeters. It is no surprise that this bile duct will eventually get blocked. During a coffee enema, caffeine and water are absorbed into the liver via the hepatic veins. The caffeine stimulates the bile duct to dilate, and the water provides the fluid to open up the clogged bile duct. This enables the free flow of the toxic bile out of the liver, giving the liver an opportunity to rejuvenate. Coffee also contains palmitic acid. The palmitic acid increases the production of the liver detoxifying enzyme called the glutathione S transferase, or GST enzyme, by 600 to 700%. The GST enzyme helps to remove free radicals and other toxins from the blood. Blood passes through the liver once every 3 minutes. When you retain the coffee for 15 minutes, the blood is cleaned 5 times. When you just drink coffee orally, it hits the stomach, and next is the brain. Hence, the experience by many of being unable to sleep and increased alertness. However, when you drink coffee from the other mouth, that is, from down under, all the coffee is absorbed straight into the liver via the hepatic veins.